Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're grabbing a magnifying glass and zooming straight in on the headlines from today, June 24th, 2026. Our goal here isn't just to quickly recap the news, it's really to connect the dots and reveal the shifting tectonic plates of our entire global order.
Today serves as a truly fascinating pivot point, and it's defined by three core themes: diplomacy, disruption, and security. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore exactly how high-stakes geopolitical maneuvering directly collided with domestic policy disruptions and escalating global security postures. It is one of those days where international friction meets sweeping domestic changes, and honestly, understanding this intersection is absolutely crucial.
So, here is our roadmap for today. First, Middle East peace maneuvers. Then, U.S. politics and policy. After that, shifting global security postures. And we'll wrap up with global elections and governance. All right, Section 1, Middle East peace maneuvers. Let's dive in.
Following a brief pause, mediators have confirmed a vital next step. U.S. and Iranian delegations needed to step back and consult with their home governments regarding the 60-day roadmap laid out by the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding. With those consultations basically wrapping up, technical working groups representing Washington and Tehran are going to officially resume their face-to-face negotiations next Tuesday in Switzerland. It's a continued commitment to the diplomatic process, but as we'll see, it comes with some pretty immediate and severe hurdles.
And here is that severe roadblock to Phase 2 negotiations. Tehran formally barred United Nations IAEA inspectors from accessing key atomic infrastructure. Specifically, they're blocking sites that were previously hit by U.S. and Israeli air operations. Iranian officials are making their stance crystal clear here. Discussions about nuclear monitoring are completely off the table until they get upfront sanctions relief and the unfreezing of their assets. It's a classic high-stakes diplomatic standoff. Now, if we zoom in on maritime commerce in that exact same region, we're actually seeing some really creative problem-solving. Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani confirmed that Gulf nations are exploring a collaborative, much broader economic and security framework with Tehran for the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Oman has proactively stepped up to the plate. They've rolled out temporary toll-free shipping lanes coordinated with the International Maritime Organization to guarantee safe commercial passage. They're really trying to keep the economic lifeblood of the region flowing smoothly despite all the broader geopolitical tension.
Okay, shifting over to Lebanon, high-level defense officials in Washington discussed a very specific three-step U.S.-backed security proposal. Step 1, vetting and training Lebanese armed forces personnel. Step 2, using those American-trained forces to systematically backfill positions that are currently held by the Israel Defense Forces. And Step 3, facilitating a smooth transition in designated pilot zones. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced this initiative, clearly hoping it offers a pragmatic off-ramp for the current military footprint.
But, diplomacy often runs straight into a brick wall of hard security realities. Despite direct deconfliction pressure from mediators, including the U.S., Qatar, and Pakistan, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz issued a highly defiant public statement. He made it perfectly clear that the IDF will not fully withdraw from its established positions in southern Lebanon, regardless of any pressure coming from Washington. This really highlights the immense difficulty of executing that three-step plan we just talked about.
Moving right along to Section 2, U.S. politics and policy.
Let's start right in Washington. President Trump officially ended months of intense legislative gridlock by signing a sweeping affordable housing bill into law. And this legislation takes a fascinating dual approach. On one side, it places strict regulatory limits on the number of single-family homes that major Wall Street institutional investors can swoop in and purchase. But on the other side, it simultaneously loosens federal regulations to incentivize local construction. It's an aggressive, two-pronged attempt to tackle housing availability from both the demand and the supply side. Meanwhile, shifting gears to electoral politics, we witnessed a massive shakeup for the Democratic establishment in New York today. A progressive outlier slate prominently backed by New York City Mayor Zohan Mamdani just swept high-profile congressional primaries. The decisive upsets are honestly striking. Claire Valdez defeated incumbent Antonio Reynoso in the 7th District, and Brad Lander successfully unseated established incumbent Dan Goldman in the 10th District. This is a very clear indicator of shifting political momentum at the local and state levels. Jumping back to the federal policy front, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick signaled some really aggressive new trade and tariff measures today. The target? Heavily state-subsidized Chinese robotics manufacturers. And the crucial shift here is the framing. Officials are no longer viewing these subsidized automation imports as just an economic issue. They're treating them as a severe national security threat that could permanently crowd out American manufacturing scale. The trade war is actively and aggressively expanding into advanced automation. And get this, in a totally fascinating grassroots tech response, a small group of former NOAA employees took matters into their own hands. They successfully launched a site called climate.us. This is literally a fully active digital clone of the highly valuable climate.gov science portal that was shuttered by the administration last year. By bringing this cloned database online today, these former federal workers are ensuring public access to absolutely critical historical climate data models is preserved. It's just a powerful example of civic tech stepping up to the plate.
All right, that brings us to part 3, shifting global security postures.
Right now, we are watching 3 simultaneous, highly coordinated escalations happen on the global stage. First, we have Russian President Putin holding an emergency video conference to order immediate countermeasures against highly disruptive Ukrainian long-range drone strikes targeting their civilian infrastructure. At the exact same time, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is aggressively elevating East Asian naval posturing by personally commissioning a brand new multi-mission destroyer, the Chohyun, over at Nampo. And concurrently, China's PLA Navy's 83rd Task Force is docking in Vladivostok to deepen their military ties with Russia. Looked at together, this shows a rapidly tightening defensive bloc.
And finally, Section 4, global elections and governance.
Down in Peru, the presidential race is effectively at the finish line. Right-wing candidate Keiko Fujimori is on the absolute brink of capturing the executive office. The National Office of Electoral Processes confirmed she is maintaining her lead with a staggering 99.8% of the official tally sheets now calculated. This marks a massive political pivot for the South American nation.
Over in South Korea, though, the governance shift was way more sudden. Jung Chung-rae, the high-profile leader of the ruling Democratic Party, completely stunned his colleagues during a Supreme Council meeting at the National Assembly. He announced his resignation, effective immediately. His stated reason? He chose to step down after deeply reflecting on his political trajectory. A surprise departure like this from a ruling party leader is absolutely bound to create significant ripples in South Korean domestic policy.
800. Let that massive number sink in for a second, because it represents the sheer scale of fiscal optimization currently happening in Indonesia. President Prabowo Subianto just announced a sweeping restructuring plan designed to aggressively shut down roughly 800 underperforming state-owned enterprises. This is a truly monumental effort to eliminate systemic budget drains and completely overhaul the Indonesian economy.
And wow, that brings us to the end of today's map of world events. From grassroots climate data clones and domestic housing reforms in the US to shifting naval alliances in the East and massive economic restructurings in Indonesia, it really is all connected. We're left to wonder, how will the rapid, highly disruptive decisions of today, June 24th, 2026, fundamentally reshape the global power structure for the rest of the decade? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep analyzing the data, and I'll catch you in our next explainer.